isn't it? Like, I mean, we were talking about this, was it last week when we were just talking about the idea of, you know, unionizing as artists in a way that maybe musicians do, or actors do, but actually that again places all the responsibility back on you to you know, develop agency and start to kind of make and changes and shift things. And actually it's a space where there would be no art world without artists. Like, it needs to be fed. This world that we inhabit, this ecosystem, needs to be fed, and we are the people that are doing the feeding. The students that we work with are the future of doing the feeding of kind of this ecosystem that we need to protect, because it's really important. And it's about, you know, art in schools. It's about art schools like, you know, the ones that we teach in. It's about art projects across the country. It's about the museums and the institutions. And people are having some of those conversations, but they're not talking about artists and how we can support artists to survive, and not just survive. Like, we, you know, as artists, we need to keep working on our practice. It needs to evolve as we evolve as human beings. And without support, that's not going to happen, or it will fall back to, it will only be people who can sustain themselves financially because they have, generational wealth, or because they are in a relationship with someone who's really rich, or because they don't experience particular barriers that we know exist. It might be that at certain moments, who you are, what you represent and what you talk about is fashionable, but that doesn't mean you're going to have a career, like a long-term career. So it's about having kind of support systems in place, and it's about having people actually putting their neck on the line to support you as a, I don't mean as an individual artist, but I mean art.
No, absolutely.
In general.
Absolutely. And I think that there's something quite also uncomfortable about, you know, like talking about, you know, a very much needed conversation about race and in the art world, but not acknowledging how that intersects with the economics of society. Is completely naive. It's pointless, and it's almost pointless. You know, it needs, these things need to happen together. There needs to be an acknowledgement. If you look at the median of a white household in the UK and the median of a black household in the UK, there's a massive disparity. There's a massive wealth gap. This plays out in all, like, way before people arrive at a point where they're showing work. You know, I mean, yeah.
So something needs to shift, and it's really hard. I don't know how it's going to shift. And what it feels like is, at the moment, is that the responsibility is lying with artists to say the things that we're saying right now in this conversation. Many other artists are saying it in many other spaces. The Artist Essential campaign is saying it. You know, it's being said, but it's not really being called out. And, you know, there aren't the kinds of demands from institutions being made on government.
No.
I mean, it's interesting how many people that I hear talking about how hard it is to work from home, how hard it is to not work with a team, how hard it is not to have a manager, how hard it, you know, all the things that as an artist you have to, you know, as a freelancer, not just an artist, but as a freelancer, you need to do for yourself. But the kind of, still there's this idea that we are just playing. So, you know, people can say, oh, I'm an artist. Oh yeah, but what do you do really? Or what do you do the rest of the time? Or so it's about a cultural shift.
Totally. And also, I mean, I don't know how this is, like, I don't know how to articulate this completely, but there's definitely this kind of idea that, like, you know, there's a body of artists and everyone's dispensable in a way, or replaceable, but not everybody is. Do you see what I mean? You can't dispense with artists altogether. And that's the shift, is that, like, you know, for years, the kind of power structures in the art world have been predicated on that you are grateful to be given opportunities. You know, you do whatever needs to happen for the projects to happen at a level that you're happy with, even if it means not taking a fee, even if it means borrowing money. I mean, you know, we know all this very well. And now that there's this horrendous kind of pandemic that's going to have so much detrimental economic effect that we're going to feel for years, it needs to happen now. There needs to be a reassessment you know, because all the talk of the kind of trans rights, race, all the things that happen in the art world, all these like conversations that are radical that the art world facilitates, they need to stand behind that. They need to stand behind those ideas. It can't just be like we side with the Tory government in how we run the place, but we're going to show work that's completely in ideological opposition to that. You know, that it's not fair, it's not good. And you know, the government are now talking about having a kind of hand in what they consider free speech in universities. You know, there's ideological decisions that are happening in government that as an industry we need to be in opposition to. We can't just kowtow to this.